Welcome back, y'all. In today's video, we are going to talk about perhaps the best side hustle for your farm or ranch in the Ozarks in 2025. Let's get into it. Moving to southern Missouri is the best thing I've ever done for my family. We are going to dig into the surprising boom of glamping. And yes, it's even made its way into the most rural reaches of the Ozarks in southern Missouri. And what the heck is glamping, you say? I'm gonna assume it means glamorous camping, right? Glamping? Ironically, the first time I heard the term was probably early 2000s and was, in my mind, coined by kind of bougie women who went to festivals. I'm just being honest. That's where I first saw it in California. But here's what's kind of cool about it. It's become popularized by every walk of life because what happened really was Airbnb kind of destroyed this two-dimensional reality where we only could stay in motels, right? And so thanks to Airbnb, unique and creative stays have really become popular with everybody. And you see even redneck hunters looking for these kind of unique stays during the hunting season. And you see a lot of families who are looking for an experience rather just the location. So really, I do think Airbnb has had the most impact in changing how we see vacations and how we see accommodations. And still, year after year, one of the most frequently Googled terms is unique stays or unique Airbnbs. So that phase and that very niche industry is not going anywhere. In fact, it's seeing a quicker and larger growth rate than a lot of other industries, especially in hospitality. So just in the short amount of time that we've been here, about 4.5 years, we have really seen Airbnbs, glamping, tree houses, and cabins really start to become popular, especially people with farms and ranches where perhaps they even already had an old little farm cabin. Maybe it was the original ranch house, and they've realized that they can do a little bit of a facelift on it and make some serious revenue on their farm with it. But what's even cooler is the popularization of glamping. And the reason why it's cool, so I am an investor at heart and I love incredible ROIs, your return on your investment. And glamping, in terms of hospitality, or you could even say just real estate investment, might be the best ROI that there is. Just to actually throw out some numbers, so on average, because it's such a big growing industry, people are actually starting to look at it on like a national level and crunching these numbers. And on average, glamping investors stated that they spent anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 on their glamp sites. Now, I don't know if that's per site. I'm gonna assume at 10K it is, although I have to say this, if you are resourceful, if you do a lot of the build yourself, if you can do things like using reclaimed lumber, you could actually get out for really, really cheap. Now that also depends on some other infrastructure, and we'll talk about that later. But on average, people are spending $10,000 to $30,000 for their glamp sites, and they're making anywhere from $40,000 a year to $250,000 a year. Also later on in this video, I'm going to feature a few, Missouri-made companies, 2 hosts that do just glamping, and then 2 that do tree houses, which is actually has a special place in my heart. But I crunched some numbers just seeing like what they were renting their sites for, and I would say that they're easily clearing $50,000. And that's like if they're only renting a third of the year, which I've talked to one of these hosts and they said that they were mostly booked for like 2/3 of the year, which is absolutely incredible. But like low ball estimate at just 100 days a year. would be clearing about $50,000 for both of those companies. But let's back up first and just talk about some general analytics for like the whole nation, which actually kind of blew me away. So this last year, 2024, in the US, the glamping industry was worth $900 million in revenues. And I'm a glamping fan. I look into this stuff. That actually blew me away. So for 2025, it's going to well get into surpassing $1 billion in revenues in glamp sites. I mean, we're talking army tents, y'all. Army tents, and half the times a composting toilet, and we're talking $1 billion industry. That blew my mind. So worldwide, we're talking a $3.5 billion industry. So you can tell that the US, in terms of proportionality, is actually the most, right? The biggest proportion of the glamping industry, because we're almost at 1 billion. But worldwide is 3.5 billion. And it has over a 10% growth rate and is expected to be well over, I think it was like 6.5 billion in the next 5 years. And they actually think that growth rate is going to start to exponentially grow. So it's pretty mind-blowing. It's a super thriving industry, and all the analytics are showing that it's going to just be this rapid fire increase. And there's a lot of industries that can't really claim that, especially in hospitality. So I was pretty impressed with those numbers. And really the question is, do you want a little piece of that pie for your ranch or farmstead? And I'm going to be honest, as I dug into this, I pretty much was just selling myself on this, that this is a great way to make some money. I mean, in real estate, honestly, if you can make your money back in 5 years, it's a home run. It might not be a grand slam, but it's definitely a solid home run or third base hit, okay? But what's cool is when you crunch a lot of these numbers, I mean, a lot of these easily, even the smallest, even if you just had one glamping site, you're making all your money back in the first year, and then you're pure profit. And what's incredible is, especially like if it's true that some of these hosts and operators are booked like 2/3 of the year, some of them are into the 6-digit, and they have like 3 or 4 glamping sites, and they're making 6-digit returns. It's pretty incredible. So when they talked about like how much it would cost, how much was invested into these sites, people are saying 10 to 30,000. And of course, people are putting more into them, like if you consider all infrastructure. So at some sites, I would assume they're putting in a septic tank. Let's just say that that's $15K. But really with that one septic tank, if you do a large one, you could easily have like several. I mean, you could probably have, if you had a large enough tank, you could probably have 7 to 10 sites on there, depending. I mean, you're gonna have to crunch your numbers. Definitely, I would say 5 to 10. 5 to 10 would be a safe range. But then you've got to look at your water. Are you putting in a new well, which is gonna be about 20K, or are you just tying into your pre-existing system? Because if you think about it, not that much water is gonna be used. So maybe just tying into your existing well and having the cost of some plumbing is a way to get even a better return. But really, I mean, a lot of these sites are rustic. So I'm going to show you one that's actually just right down the road from us, and we're talking composting toilets, like in terms of infrastructure, composting toilets. I believe each site has an outdoor shower, although I could be wrong, and it could be a communal outdoor shower, which of course you would save even more money on, but I'm pretty sure each one has its own outdoor shower. They have like a little swimming pool, which is really just like a farm trough. It's like, a metal tub, and that is what they're using for a pool. The biggest infrastructures that they have built up, like these nice wooden decks. So usually almost every site I've seen, and I'm going to show you another operator that's out of Branson that did the same thing, In fact, the one in Branson, that's really all the wood that she's used, is these nice platform decks. So yeah, the one that's right down the road from us, okay, so composting toilet, outdoor shower, and then on the inside they have like just a little, almost what looks just like a little like camping kitchenette. So it's like just very cheap, like it looks like a little portable sink, really cute, but really, really rustic. And then, yeah, and then all of that is under a canvas tent. And then they have like some communal like fire pits, you know, hammocks, swinging chair, and that's it. And they have them listed right now for $149 a night, but I'm pretty sure that goes up during like peak season. I think that might even just be their winter rate, which is crazy. I mean, I'm gonna ask them if they have winter customers, because that would blow me away if people are renting these tents for top dollar in the wintertime. It could be happening. And I've already communicated to you guys how I grew up really primitively with hippies. So like for me, the glamping thing is kind of lost. Like, I don't want to pay $200 a night for a composting toilet. I don't. But I love crazy returns on investment. And I'll tell you what, a composting toilet is very easy to set up, although you have to maintain that. So that's not for me, but in terms of your ROI, super affordable and incredibly rustic, and people like love it. I'm assuming they're people that don't live with composting toilets, and it's just like something very novel and new, and they want to do like kind of the green thing, or they like just being really remote, because a lot of those campsites that have the composting toilet are very remote. But it seems to be a selling point, which is kind of blows my mind. But if it makes crazy good money, hey, who's to argue? So the one that's right down the road is they're actually old clients of mine, and their company is called Spring Rock Ranch, and I will put a link in the description to their website. Both husband and wife are very creative. Everything they do is kind of just beautiful. And here's what really surprised me. They actually, the home and the property I sold for them, they were running as an Airbnb, and it was gorgeous. It was amazing. And it was not doing that great. It wasn't consistently rented. And last time I talked to the wife, she said the glamping sites were bringing in way more money than that super nice, like 3 or 4 bedroom home was bringing in on Airbnb. And the other reason that I want to note that is because just in terms of your return on investment, like, so after doing all this research, the investor juices were flowing, and I just was thinking, gosh, I mean, if you put $50,000 into some sort of unique stay, whether it was multiple glamping sites or some tree houses or little A-frames or whatever, or just one like glorious cabin, right? Whatever it would be, that $50,000 would make such a better return as a unique stay, like in terms of hospitality, than a long-term rental, than like buying a $50,000 fixer-upper home, right? And renting it long-term, probably, you know, may get thrashed. I'm just saying, C-class rentals are hard, which kind of blew my mind. So I just was thinking about, gosh, like, this is a whole new way of looking at real estate investing. And I have to say, I'm intrigued. So the other glamping company I wanted to highlight, and I will also link them in the description, is Ozark Mountain Adventure. And they're out of Branson, and they're definitely dominating on Airbnb. That seems to be the bulk of how they're renting, where Spring Rock Ranch, I believe they're on Airbnb, they're on Hip Camp, or whatever that site's called, pretty sure it's Hip Camp, and they do a lot of like direct bookings off their website. And so, but Ozark Mountain Adventure is really big on Airbnb, and it's in the Branson area. And right now, like, their wintertime rate is $189. I remember during a peak time of the year seeing it around $289, I believe. Now here's the infrastructure they have. So they have these individual sites. Usually they have like a kind of a privacy fence. Doesn't look like anything fancy. In fact, it could just be like bamboo fencing. They do have that platform, right? The canvas tent, but their canvas tents are super small, just big enough to fit like a queen bed. And they've got a little like AC heating unit in each one. So they have electricity, a teeny tiny kiosk bathroom that's outside of the tent. And that of course is like, that's actually like a building structure. So that's gonna be there year round. They then put a large, which pretty much just like a large tarp above the tent, right, to protect it from any rain or whatever. And then outside all that, so then they have laid down gravel, super cheap, and then they have outdoor seating and a fire pit. So really affordable, right? I just think that like if you're looking at anything else in hospitality, right, to be able to rent something at peak season for $289, and some of those months they're gonna be, the majority is gonna be booked for sure. It's such a good return on investment, and you could definitely do that for 10K, do that spot. So kind of blowing my mind. And I think that it would be a really easy side hustle. I mean, fairly easy, right? Side hustle for your farmstead or ranch. The thing to consider is that you're going to have to, you know, for the most part, in most of our areas, we're gonna have to be the janitors, housekeeping, maintenance, everything, right? And of course, taking all those roles is what's gonna actually make it profitable. Unless you got enough sites, I would say probably around 10, you know, you'd be hiring and still be turning a pretty amazing profit. And I wanna talk about something near and dear to my heart that's in a similar vein to glamping, super profitable, but a little bit different, and that is the popularization of tree houses. Or maybe tree houses have always been popular, but they were pretty much for kids. And now like everybody gets to nerd out on tree houses. Probably has something to do with that show. I love that show. I can't think of what it's called right now, and that show is amazing. And actually that guy designed and built the tree house that's at Dogwood Canyon, which is pretty cool. So there's two other companies that I wanted to highlight. One is Treehouse Cabins, and the other is the Herman Cottage, but the specific treehouse element is called the Treehouse Bed and Breakfast. And Treehouse Cabins is actually out in Dora, and I didn't realize that that one actually has a focus on trout fishing, like blue ribbon trout fishing, and that one's out in Dora. And then the Herman Cottages is just kind of like set in a forest. It's beautiful, but there's not like any kind of necessarily like specific attraction there. And they're very similar. I mean, they're pretty much just cabins built on stilts with a platform, either stairs or a ramp. I mean, that's pretty much all they are. They're fairly small. They say that they sleep 4 to 6, but really we're talking like folding out couches, things like that. They're very small cabins, and they both companies rent them for $298 a night, but that was now in winter. I remember looking up, I can't remember the company, but they were renting them for almost $400 a night, and kind of blew me away. Now, it's not as good of a return on investment because some of these cabins, I'm gonna assume, are like $75,000. I mean, you definitely could go into 6-digit easily, but these are really small, and I really don't think that they did. In fact, depending on how much they built them themselves, we could be talking 30K. They're definitely really nicely finished, beautiful woodworking, but so small. So it's something that I kind of was thinking I wanted to do here because they're just cool, first of all. Tree houses are just amazing. And to me, it would have a lot of different uses. Like it'd be great for guests, perhaps even clients, for our children once they maybe were transitioning and getting ready to buy a place of their own, but needed to stay on the land, but didn't want to be in the home, something like that. But then also the opportunity to rent it for short-term rental and pay for it, and then get a return on your investment would be pretty cool. So while making this video, I just kind of got the investor spirit in me and was talking to my husband like, we should do this. This is actually really smart. I would love to hear from you guys what you think of this idea. right? Especially those of you that are actively looking at investments and crunching numbers. What do you think? Do you think you spend $50,000 to $70,000 on the C-class rental that maybe gets you $700 a month? Or do you invest that into your land and do some sort of crazy, unique short-term rental? What do you guys think? And the reason why too, it really stuck in my mind is I was just looking at these like little rink-a-dink $50,000 homes, because here's the truth. $50,000 home right now in the Ozarks is like an 800 square foot fixer-upper. It's rough. It's super, super rough, right? And even if you put in, let's say $20,000, totally give it a facelift, totally remodel it, and then you've got $70,000 into the project, you're still, I mean, rents are so low. You're still looking at, I mean, maybe you could get $800, but really a lot of people are renting that $600, $700. So we'll give it a range, $600 to $800 a month, right? Or you could build this epic tree house and you could make that kind of money in just a few weekends. That's where my mind's at. And if you guys have any crazy investment ideas or specific properties you want me to look at, give me a call. Give me all the details. We'll crunch the numbers. We'll see if it's a good or a bad investment. As always, you guys, all my information is in the description. Get a hold of me however you want. You can call me, text me, email, Zoom, whatever you prefer, and we can start to figure out how you can live your best life here in the Ozarks. Okay, you guys, until next time, bye.